Welcome to the Climate Voices podcast. I'm your host, Omesa Mokaya, an environmental and climate scientist that is tremendously passionate about making the world a better place, not just for the present, but also for the future generations. Coming from a rural community in Western Kenya that is greatly impacted by climate change, I've been involved in addressing this crisis and enhancing the resilience of the communities across Kenya for over 7 years now in different capacities. Working with the communities, especially in the arid and semi-arid lower eastern parts of Kenya, popularly known in Kenya as the Ukambani region, and some parts of Western Kenya, I have learned that the impacts of climate change are more devastating than they are actually shown, and that the mainstream media seldom covers this kind of stories like the other events. What I've also learned is that the communities are actually doing the very best in coping with the impacts and that there are a lot of champions that are leading in co-creating solutions to this crisis of our time. In the realization that a lot needs to be done to address the climate crisis, I've moved into academia and research to try and understand what the world is doing and what we all need to do. I'm faced with a great disappointment that there is a great disconnect between science and scientific research, policy response, and community action in addressing the climate crisis. Different groups are working in silos, and there's a breakdown in communicating climate science and covering different climate stories. Addressing this paucity in communication is my greatest motivation for starting this podcast, which aims to give voice to the various champions that are tirelessly working to address the climate crisis, but their effort is hardly noticed. It is my utmost pleasure to officially welcome you to the Climate Voices podcast, where we'll be talking to different champions that have been working in the climate space in different capacities, ranging from scientists and researchers to community and youth champions to policymakers that are involved in supporting the climate action across the world. This podcast will be providing an interface for interaction and conversation from all these stakeholders that have been working in silos and sometimes unnoticed to share their action stories with an aim of co-creating solutions to these global menace. We all need to collaborate and work together because climate change is a common enemy that threatens our very future, and now more than ever we need to work in harmony. What better way to do that than to start by having the very basic conversations that we are not even having? We will kick off the conversations with leading climate scientists and activists from across Africa and eventually expand our scope to other regions of the world in an effort to understand how different people are addressing this global issue in different regions through different adaptations and mitigation efforts and actions. Special attention will be given to young people across the world as they are conspicuously missing now and over the past from the policy making processes on climate action, yet they are always at the forefront in fighting this issue, and their very future is threatened. We will be covering topics such as just energy transition, nature-based solutions, youth involvement in climate action, among others. Look out to the very first episode that will be airing soon, and be sure to subscribe to this podcast and follow our pages on social media to get more of the content as it comes out. Stay tuned and see you soon in the next episode.